Emma, and she's going to be our model for today. We're going to do a short cut all over her body, weave pom-poms on her legs, do clean feet, and a clean face and top knot. Let's get started. For her clean face, I'm going to use a 5-in-1 clipper on a 10 setting. My line. My line is going to be from the top corner of the ear to the corner of the eye. And then I want to do a nice U shape underneath. And I just want to make this straight. So how low I go with my U shape is just going to depend on the dog's structure. Just keep in mind that the goal is to straighten this so that the neck isn't sticking out or really sunken in. When I'm doing a clean face, I do want to hold the skin taut. So if I have to lift this ear, I just want to pay attention to how much the skin is moving so that if this pulls the skin a lot, I can leave the line a little lower so that I don't accidentally go too high. And Mama was just recently groomed in a grooming competition, so she won't have a ton of hair on her face. Now we're going to work on the top knot, and I'm going to show you a super easy ledge grooming technique. Top knot, it's super easy to get overwhelmed, but we're going to start by just focusing on the visor. This is going to be the first layer of the head. It's going to be from the corner of the eye to the corner of the eye, and I will eventually take it back to the corner of the ear as well along my shave line. So we're going to pull that first layer forward and just focus on this area to support the rest of our round top knot so that it doesn't flop forward and cover the eyes. With my curved shears angled out at a 45-degree angle, I'm just going to use my shears to cut my visor in. And I don't want a lot of hair hanging in the front. I want like a nice bevel sweeping back, but I don't want a lot of hair covering the eyeballs. It's not heavy. So when you look from the side, you really want to be able to see the dog's eyeball. Once I have that line right in front of the eye clean, I'm going to start taking this back towards the ear. And you notice my curve is not going towards the dog, it's going away from the dog. And I'm working on taking this shave line into my top knot shape. I want to start blending this transition. I'm going to continue to the corner of the ear, and my reference is going to be the line from the corner of the eye to the corner of the ear. I've already set this line in with my clipper work. So now I'm just cleaning up my line and making sure everything is neat before switching to the other side of the head. Something to be aware of is when you lift the ear up to get a better view, you don't want to move the skin too much. And if moving the skin is unavoidable, you just need to make sure that you're adapting to the way that the skin is moving so you don't make this line too short or change your shape. You don't want to flip the ear back down and then the shape of your line is completely different because of the weight of the ear moving the hair. And so for this side of the face, I'm trying to mirror my scissor position, and I'm just focusing on the visor to the front corner of the ear. Once the visor's done, we can move on to ledge grooming, but we have to set that shape first. So now that I have the visor done, what I'm going to do is take all of the hair and comb it to one side. So after all the hair is combed to one side, I'm just going to follow this line straight back, and basically anything that goes past the line that I set, I know I can get rid of that. And I'm going to take that all the way over the top of the ear into the back of the head. So she had a different haircut before this. She had a modified continental or historically correct continental. So this was kind of like all one piece, and now we're creating more of a traditional poodle top knot with a separation between the ear and the head. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Comb all of this hair. And anything that falls past the line that I set, we're just going to trim it. And again, going straight back above the ear into the V shape that I left on the top of the neck. And we'll blend that more later, but right now I'm just focusing on this ledge. And you can see it's already starting to get round. It's still a little bit wide because we didn't clear this hair out yet. We haven't really defined this. It's still almost, this is like Asian fusion-y kind of at this point, but I don't want a lot of hair hanging over the side of this line. So what I'm seeing is right here, this hair is still too long and it's giving more of a mushroom look. So when I comb back over, I know that I need to focus on that area right above the ear and just take a little bit more length off. And sometimes when you're going from a really, really long length into a shorter length, it will take you a couple times to set the appropriate length. Don't feel like you have to do it all in one snip. You don't. So we're just doing the same thing again. Oh, I've set both sides twice. Now I know that like I'm pretty happy with this length, but I can see my line a lot clearer now, and with the hair combed away, I'm just gonna make this defined. I'm just gonna go all the way around the ear. So now when you look from the front, we don't have a ton of hair hanging over. We're starting to get that really traditional, cute, flashy top knot shape. So I can comb this stuff back. And set in that same line on this side. Right now I'm comparing like this line, all right, it's getting there, but I know that I'm not done. I still have a lot of fluff up here, so I'm gonna do one more time. And each time I do this, you can go higher and higher because you're setting your shape in. And this way, you're leaving the most length in the middle, but you're building shorter hairs to support this, and it's going to give you volume. Something that's super important when you're doing and shaping a poodle top knot is you want to look at the shape from the top of the dog and make sure that your sides are even. So when I look right now, I can see the points that are not the same on either side, and that's what I can focus on my next attempt. And you can just keep doing this ledge grooming technique until you have the exact top knot that you want. This, I think, is my issue. Once you have taken the sides short enough, all that you're going to be left with is just a little bit of fluff in the middle. And I just want to lightly shape this and take the ends off so that I'm keeping the hair healthy and giving it enough volume to stand up. I know I don't need to take a ton of length off because I've taken a lot of length from doing the ledge grooming. Now when I look from the side, I have all of this crazy hair, and this is super short. This is really long, and I need to figure out how to get from this length up here to transition into this body length. So I know that I have my transition points, which is this shorter length, and I need to take enough hair out to make this look like a natural transition. Everything that's behind the bulb of the ear, I'm going to take my thinning shears, and I'm just going to lay them against the dog's neck and sort of go in like a windshield wiper motion and start blending this. So that when I look from behind, it's not super bulky. So I'm making this into like a V shape. And I'm going to just do the same thing on the other side from the back of the ear. I know I want right behind the ear, super short. And I'm just going to go in a windshield wiper motion to start blending the long length of the neck into the body. And then from above, I'm going to take this bulk off because I've already started to shape and blend. And I want this to be like a nice, continuous, pretty line. I'm just going to take this down just a little bit on the back of the head so that I have a smoother transition. I'm just focusing on the middle right now. And I'm just matching the length on either side. So you can see it's just a nicer transition. It makes her look like she has a little bit more of a powerful neck instead of it being super skinny, but you can't really tell that it's a lot longer. It's just a nice transition. Now we're gonna move on to her ears, and we want a beveled ear, so really we would want to grow this stuff in just a little bit, but I'm gonna show you how we start. When I do a beveled ear, first I'm gonna just take some of this bulk down so that we can see the line a little bit better. And all that I'm doing is cutting with my shears at a little bit of they're at an angle, so that I'm just blending the short into the longer length. Now that that's done, I'm gonna set the length on the bottom of the ear first. So her ear leather is right here. And when I set a bevel on an ear, I wanna set this, I'm not focusing on making the whole shape at once. I'm gonna make a straight line and then lift and lift. So here's the end of her ear. I know the shortest point, if I want a round ear, needs to be in the middle. That's why I'm finding the leather. And I'm cutting straight across the bottom. I'm making sure that I'm combing underneath so that I don't have any really long pieces that are hiding underneath there. And then I'm gonna lift and round the back of the shape. Look from low just to make sure that you don't have any pieces that are hiding underneath there. And then I'm gonna just round this front. And the last thing that I want to do is look from the front of the ear and just make sure that this is also rounded. So I have a little edge right here, and I just want to take that off with my thinning shears, as well as this edge right here. And that is how you get a beveled ear. So for her body today, I'm going to do a 5 all over up into these lower legs, the pom-poms that are below her pasterns or hump. So for her clipper work on her body, I'm going to start behind her occiput. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit of extra hair to work with. But on the sides, I'm shaving all the way up to the bulb of the ear. I'm going to avoid this area just for now, and then just start clippering all the way to the pom-poms. And even when I'm clippering on a standout coat with a shorter length, I still want to move my clippers in the direction of hair growth. That's what's going to give me the nicest, most even finish. Which means I'm going to go straight on the top of the back, and everything else is going to kind of be a little bit angled. It's going to be a lot easier to see now that she doesn't have so much coat. And I'm being careful on her belly. Dogs have a strip of skin in the middle of their belly, and it's very, very easy to cut that skin if you're not being careful. Same for the armpit or just any area that has flaps of skin. I'm not going to be using my clippers in a direction that could cut the dog. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. My rough pass on the body is done. The dog's finish is not perfect yet. I'm still going to go over it one more time and do the final pass so that I have a perfect plush velvety finish. This is just my first go, but this way I'm not going to overspend time in one area. Her pads are already shaved, but that would be what I would start with, is making sure that the pads are done. And where I set my line with a clean foot, I shave above, all the way up above this back pad. And if you just move that line straight across, that's usually a good reference point for where you want to set your clean foot. Another way that you can do it is finding where the dog's natural wrist is, where the foot bends, and that's a good place to set your clean foot as well. So I need to move this up just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is just take my line from the back and just carve it in a little with my 40. And then when I go around to the front, I can see where I've set that. I combed all of this pom-pom hair down. I can still kind of see where my line from the back is, but what I'm going to do is just slide my hand to about where that spot is that I found. And I'm going to take my 40 and just go all the way up to where my fingers are. And this way, you'll see in a second when I let go, you're already starting the bevel on the foot. And then you just clean up your line, make sure that there's no long areas. You can also clean it up with shears. And then I'm going to start working on her foot. I'm going to shave towards the toes with a 40. Because her skin is really used to getting shaved and being groomed in such a short length, if she was a white dog, or if I hadn't ever groomed her before, if she'd never had clean feet before, I would definitely use a longer blade, because you risk irritating the skin or exposing the skin. And she has nice dark pigment, but on a white dog, this would look pink, pink, pink. So the length that you do on a clean foot just really depends on the dog. After I've gone towards the toes with a 40, I want to get this hair that's around the nail bed. You can go up towards the foot or scoop out away from the nail. But we just want to make sure that we're getting all the little hairs around the dog's nail. And then using my finger to push in between the dog's pads, I want to just stretch out the skin by pushing my finger from underneath and just getting the hair in between the toes. I'm going to do the same process for this back foot, starting in the back. I want to shave everything above that back pad to set my line. So if you just continue from the top of the back pad, it'll give you a good idea of where you want that foot to start. And then I will comb all of this hair down. So after combing all the hair down, I'm going to slide my hand down, push all this hair, and with a 40, clip it right to my hand. And you do this all the way around the whole foot. Then when you let go, the bevel is already started for you. I just want to clean up a little bit. I'm going to touch it again with scissors later, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but I just want a really good guide from my clippers. Same thing, I'm just clippering towards the nail with a 40 all over the top of the foot. I want to go around the nail bed. And while you're doing a clean foot, you want to make sure that the dog is still in a comfortable position. Pay attention to how you're handling and holding them. Their legs are up for quite a long time and it's not always super comfortable. So if your dog is fighting with you a lot, it could be your positioning. I'm going to come from underneath to get these two inside nails, but I'm just doing the same thing. And then I'm going to push from underneath to stretch in between the toes and go sideways in between. Get that area nice and neat. So when I'm shaping my pom-poms, I already set the bottom when we were doing our clean feet, and now we're going to do pretty much the exact same thing on the top. I'm going to comb all of this hair up. And then I'm going to slide my fingers, pushing all the hair up. I don't want to move my fingers too low. The hawk bone is up here. If I set the shape down here, I'm going to only have the tiniest little pom-pom of all time. And it's going to look like little puffs, little ruffles on socks instead of a nice round pom-pom. So I'm going to make sure I go past the hawk. And I want the back of the pom-pom to be higher than the front, so I have my fingers at an angle. And now I'm going to clipper towards my thumb and just set my line. Same thing on the inside, I'm just going towards my own hand. I'm getting this nice and clean and crisp and defined. Matching it in the front. When I put it down, the pom-pom is already starting to take shape. We're missing a lot of hair in the front here that was already there. I did not mess that up from this clipper work, but I would love to have a little bit more hair, about this much, on this pom-pom. And when I'm looking at both the front and back poms, something that you can do is use your comb to measure your height and then go to the front and make sure that you have your height set at the same point. So this pom is not missing the hair in the front, so we're going to do this side just to show you how we clean this up with scissors. I want to fluff all this hair up, and you can take curved shears or curved thinners, whatever you're comfortable using. I'm going to show you both, but you can use just the shape of your shears to set the roundness of your pom-poms. You can also set them into like a square shape first and then take the edges off. So we're just working on this round shape and making sure that it's short and cute and proportionate. We don't want a big blob. I've been using those curve thinners, but you can just use regular curved shears, whatever you're comfortable with. And I just keep fluffing to make sure that there's not going to be any long hairs that are sticking out. So I have these little long hairs up here. And I just want to tidy them before I move on. And in general, I want the back of the pom-pom to be higher than the front. So I just want to make sure I'm letting this stuff grow in, and I'm not going to trim too much. So we just started shaving at the top with a 40. Now I'm just going to keep shaping this. And when we're setting the length of our palms, you don't want this to be this big just because it's round. If the dog had a longer haircut on the body, this is pretty short on the body. But if you imagine the widest part of this shoulder muscle going down to the ground and creating a parallel line, anything that falls out of that imaginary parallel line, you know that you can take your pom-pom to that length. But everything that falls out of that imaginary parallel line from the widest part of the muscle, I know I can just chop that off. If it's easier for you to make a square shape first, and then go back and round the edges, that's totally fine. If you want to make a round shape right away, you can do that too. Play with it and see what comes easier for you. I find it's easier to do a square shape and then take my edges off. But right now I'm just setting length, and I'm not worrying about getting a perfect finish. I'm going to fluff this hair up again. And just keep working on my shape. I just want to look and start comparing my shapes. The line on the front of this one is a little bit off, so I know that I need to grow stuff. That's why it might look a little less balanced on the top than the bottom, but it just needs to grow. When Sierra was participating in grooming contests all the time, she used to groom Mama in grooming competitions, and Now she's like a student dog and other people use her in grooming competitions, so she comes with funky haircuts all the time. Now that I'm pretty happy with the shape, I'm just gonna put a finish on it. You can do this with curved shears, thinning shears, or whatever you want, but I'm focusing on just making sure that this is really plush, really even all over. So I'm going to shave the base of the tail. A general rule of thumb, no pun intended, is to use about 2 fingers width, and all people have different size fingers, but in general, you want to do about 2 fingers. So hers is a little bit low, but a lot of people train and practice on her, so that's why her lines are sometimes a little wacky. But we just know that about 2 fingers from the underneath side of the tail is how we want to set this line. So this is an area where you can use your personal preference. You can make this a V shape or a U shape. I like to do a V. And I'm going to do from where her tail actually starts, which is here and here. So from the corners of her actual tail, I'm using a 10 in reverse and setting a V. And you'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly when these rosettes are gone. And again, I just want to make sure that those lines look intentional. And then I'm just going to continue down to my 2 finger length area and shape underneath your tail as well. This is something you have to be careful because this, if you go too close underneath the tail, dogs will tend to scoot. So err on the side of longer underneath. Maybe don't go in reverse if you don't know the dog yet or you think that they might be sensitive, just so that they don't scoot and cause problems at home. I'm just really making sure that this is nice and clean and defined. Again, I'm not taking the tail all the way down to where the line that is already set is because I need this to grow. So that's why, it's a little bit lower. I didn't shave all the way down. I want this to grow in. For my poodle tail, I want to find the end of the tail. I'm going to take all of this hair. There's the end of the tail. And I'm just going to trim it. Depending on how thick your dog's hair is, you might want to leave a little bit of extra. Sometimes you want to trim right to the tip of that tail. Just depends on how thick the dog's hair is. But if the dog's hair is really thin or sparse, this is going to part and you're going to be able to see that tailbone right there. Another reference point for setting the length on the tail, you want it to be the same height as the top knot. So after I set my length, what I'm going to do is hold the tip of the tail, and I'm just going to take my first layer all the way around, not focusing on this stuff, but I'm going to take my first layer, maybe like an inch, half an inch, around the base of your band, and I'm going to go in reverse with my curved shears and just set a bevel. I want this to be lifted and round. Once I have that bottom layer set, then I can work my way up, flip my shears, and just use the shape of the curve to shape this tail. But when I'm thinking about how much length I need to leave, I want it to be roughly equivalent with my pom-poms. I don't want a ton of hair. I do want to leave enough to shape. So I don't want a rat tail. And I want to make sure that it's even in the front and the back. Her tail is curled, so you can see like in the front, she's got this curl. We're just pretending that there's not a line here, and we're just going to use that whole shape. And right now I'm just setting my shape and kind of setting my length, and I'm not as focused on making it perfect. After I've set my shape and my length roughly, then I will fluff out and go over it again. And I want to look at my shape from all angles and make sure that looks good. And remember, we're still growing in some of this, so it's not perfectly even at the bottom. That's okay. So the last thing that I'm going to do is my final pass. I'm going to check for areas like armpits. You can see she still has some hair underneath there. I'm going to just do a once over pass with my clipper after I have back combed her body. And then I'm just going to refluff these pom-poms, the top of her head, ears, and tail, and put a really nice finish on it. So I'll be right back.